Welcome to Logical ND. My name is Emily, and it is my pleasure to narrate the near-death experiences of those who have seen the other side. If you are new to our channel, welcome. For our regular viewers, please sit back and enjoy today's episode. Today's experience was submitted to the channel by Melanie. Please enjoy. In 2015, I was in a coma, on life support. I was given last rites, and my family was told to let me go, as doctors said they had done all they could. A prayer blanket was laid on me after my head was shaved, and my brain was scanned for activity. The prognosis was, if I lived, I would probably be in a vegetative state, but that living probably would not happen as I had less than 1% chance of living. My CO2 level was over 200. This was almost complete CO2 in my lungs, and the brain has no oxygen to survive. My blood was poisoning me. September 26, 2015 was one of my weekends to die. Family and friends came in from all over the world to continue prayers, but realistically to say goodbye. More than once they were called. My daughter kept telling everyone I would live, which was treated as a faithful delusion. I dimensionally traveled, saw life and the world from other perspectives, and my senses have been heightened. I did not have the typical near-death experience. I am pretty logical, scientific, and I am always asking about the whys of things. I did not talk about the details much about what I experienced because it was an astronomically different experience, and it took me a while to process. I also tried to analyze certain things I experienced, because it was hard even for me to believe, even though I think I am a fairly open person, to a degree. I was intimidated about sharing details with traditionally minded friends and family, so I wanted to make sure I had thoroughly analyzed my experience. Now, I feel ridiculous about my lack of freedom of expression about it. I realized this was part of the control I had to let go of. It wasn't until I read P.M.H. Atwater's book, We Live Forever, and saw a documentary on Netflix about NDEs called Surviving Death, that I realized my experience wasn't odd. I left my body and saw the room I was in when I was being prepped for something, and heard the doctor's conversation about how I wasn't going to make it. I tried reprimanding them and talking to them about their comments, but they couldn't hear me. I traveled to space into alternate timelines and dimensions. I did not see my body when I went into outer space. I just saw from a first-person perspective. I traveled to another planet and saw a different alien species. I did see my body there. It was deformed, like a person with a disabling disease. I heard from my guide, which was a voice I heard but I couldn't see who it was, that I was deformed there because it wasn't my planet or species. I also heard that life is a series of experiences and perspectives, and that nothing is a mistake. I was placed in a lily and saw, from a first-hand viewpoint, that plant's perspective, as though I was the plant. I was placed in a fish tank as a fish and saw the viewpoint of the fish, yet could not see my own body in these transitions but had awareness of myself. I had a lot of questions about things going on behind the scenes on Earth. I was shown some things going on in the world that are not as much in the news, but based on things that I questioned about the world's issues. For example, kids and women that are disappearing. It was like I was shown the backroom of the issues of the world that I had questioned, and it made me feel like the world was an awful place that I did not want any part of and did not want to idolize. You had to be there to understand what I mean. When I came back to this place, I used humor as a coping mechanism, but also as a buffer to my heightened emotions to try to minimize the intensity of my experience. When I came back, I was so over the world and felt like everyone was ridiculous and too serious about everything. I had seen the Earth culture's backroom, got my questions answered, and was not a fan. I think one of my guides manifested as my daughter to keep me anchored to the world, or I may not have come back. I had no concept of time, but everything seemed to happen all at once, like there was no time, and I could not tell if things were fast or slow. It's hard to explain that part because my mind is acclimated to time and order. I received messages, prophetic images, and also received answers about my life and how I related to the world. I predicted Trump would win, though I did not know he was running while in coma. I only found out once I woke. I predicted the study of trees having consciousness, Kim Jong-un, and North Korea settling down and trying to be a more friendly nation before erupting again. A major alien contact event coming, by my estimation, 2023, just to name a few. Trees are conscious and are actually intelligent species. They know our true world history and have survived many cultures being born and dying off. We just take them for granted because we don't look at plants as intelligent life forms. We can learn a lot from them, and they take care of us in several ways. Experiments are going to start to be done on them to prove their consciousness, and the goal of those experiments will be to extract information. I hope these experiments will be made public information, but you know how those things go in the world. Either way, we will hear about it. I saw a light brighter than any I have ever seen. The closest comparable light on Earth is from the sun. But the non-traditional shocking part to me now is that I instinctively put my hand out and a silver sphere appeared. From it rose a hologram of the typical image of Jesus Christ. I held it in my hand while this light emanated. I felt at peace and had no particular feeling like surprise or curiosity. There was a voice that beckoned that the experience was over and that I was going back, even though I didn't have any concept that I had left, because it was so sudden. Then the light all of a sudden pulled back, and that was it. I think this was the time my vitals improved overnight by 50% because I was switched to an oscillator instead of a ventilator. After that, I believe I was partially conscious because I remember certain things that were obviously loopy states, with awareness of my surroundings. I believe I was shown an image of Jesus because, as a formerly traditional, now non-traditional Christian, I believed in him and admired him as a historical figure, comforter, truth-teller. I believed in his existence and mission from a soul perspective, and not so much a traditional religious perspective. On the other side, people come forward as comfort and support, but they aren't necessarily in the image of their actual souls. For example, your grandmother who died may not still look like how she left you. But if you are dying, she may manifest in the image you are used to bring you comfort, ease, and familiarity through the transition. I now believe that everyone who has an NDE has different experiences because, based on what I learned, we are all interconnected, but experiencing different ways and forms of life, according to what we came here to learn this time around. PMH Atwater's book and the Netflix documentary helped me to understand that there are others who don't see the typical tunnel, angels in robes and grassy fields. There are some of us who are space and dimension travelers, and that is normal too. That pretty much sums up my NDE experience. Thank you for allowing me to share my story with your audience. It's taken me a long time to gather strength and confidence to want to share this and put myself out there. I do hope it can help or influence others who are feeling the same. Thanks again. Bye everyone. Thanks for watching today's episode. Please don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.